Hey everyone, my name is Andrew Hoffman and I'm back with the Heroes podcast. I'm so happy to be here with Jenni Rock. How are you?
Hi, I'm doing wonderful. Thank you. How are you today, Andre?
Thanks. I'm so happy to have you. And before we jump into the content, I want to introduce you so everyone knows what we are up to, who we are going to talk today. So Jenni is a co-parenting without conflict expert with 4 years of experience. She has been instrumental in helping divorced parents exit toxic relationships and redefine their communication patterns to prioritize the needs of their children. I love this. With a proven track record of success, Jenni brings a wealth of knowledge and expertise to the table, helping parents navigate the often challenging terrain of co-parenting after massive divorce. The approach is grounded in the belief that parents who put their children's needs first can co-parent effectively, even after a contentious separation. Welcome on the show. I'm so happy and I'm so excited to hear your story, Jenni, because I have a feeling that you have been through something like that. What do you want to share about the past before?
It's a big, long story, which we probably don't have time to cover all of it today. But needless to say, I was in a marriage that ended. We had a child together. My son was 3 when we separated, and even before we had my son, I knew it was an abusive relationship. So the signs, the red flags were already there, but at the time, I didn't see them. I had no clue that was going on, and I just accepted that what we had was kind of normal. And after we separated, which was all a big sort of dramatic, police involved, close the road off, blah, blah, blah. Oh, he assaulted me. I phoned the police. The phone call to the police was interrupted by him because he took the phone away and slammed it down. And then the police turned up and he wouldn't let me talk to them. And then more police turned up and he took our son as a human shield, age 3, into the back garden to avoid getting arrested with a chainsaw, pickaxe handle and an 8-stone German Shepherd. That was the big kind of the big dramatic thing. They closed the road. They had armed police on standby. They had the police dog handler there. And it was very, very dramatic. However, I still had to co-parent with this man. He might have been a horrible, awful husband, but he was still a father. And he still deserved to have a relationship with his son, who he absolutely loved. So I didn't want to stand in the way of that. So I did my absolute best to co-parent without realizing that I was still allowing him to manipulate me and to threaten me and to abuse me for years. Literally for years and years and years afterwards. Before the divorce was finalized and all the settlements, I'd come home. I didn't know if he'd be here. He'd let himself in. He'd be drunk, stood in the dark, waiting for us to walk in. And I would just feel sick coming home, not knowing what I was going to find. And basically, I had to go through years of therapy, lots of understanding sort of what normal looked like and what was not normal, based on my experience, try and kind of reframe what I'd gone through. And after I'd done that, I just thought I had no clue. I was completely clueless. And I mean, I would be at work and he'd phone. This is after we got divorced. He'd phone, and if I didn't answer the phone, he'd continually ring. And if I didn't answer, he'd text me and say, if you don't pick up, I'm going to turn up at your work and make a scene. It was complete manipulation and completely toxic. And I lived with constant threats, constant threats of harm to me, constant threats that my child would be taken away, constant threats that he would destroy me, just constant threats of anything to get his own way. If he knew I was going out, he'd find a way to ruin it. You know, if everything that I was trying to build, he was kind of working in the opposite direction of trying to destroy. So yeah, lots of stuff I went through.
This is heavy. It's like I'm getting goosebumps all along to even consider your experience through this. And I'm wondering though, that have you uncovered how you have got yourself into that relationship? Would you say there was a pattern that you have somehow you attracted it, or was there, usually I find lack of self-worth, this is what my thing, and would you say that was part of the issue,
Yeah,
or
definitely.
how did that play out?
I had no confidence in myself. I had been basically, he got me young. So we started our relationship when I was 17. So I hadn't yet matured and fully developed my own self-worth and sense of self. And it became twisted and manipulated by him so that I felt that I had no worth, that I was worthless, that I would never be worth anything to anybody else. I was useless, I was fat, I was this, that, and the other. And my confidence had been systematically destroyed. But to start with, it starts very, very tiny, and then it just starts to escalate as the years go on. So, when you start off, you just think you're in a normal relationship, and then that self-worth just gets destroyed over time, and it gets worse and worse the longer it goes.
Wow, I can almost, that example where I think the froggies get to the point where it's
Yeah.
boiling and dies because it can take a bit more pain, and
Yeah.
not noticing, because it comes from unawareness, to change.
Yeah.
So was there a point where you just could not take it anymore? How did this, what had to happen for you? I mean, you already told us that story,
Yeah.
to shift everything. What, tell us.
I think what happened was when he assaulted me and I called the police, he assaulted me when I was holding the hand of my 3-year-old child. And that kind of flicked a light bulb on in my head. And I said, I don't want my son growing up believing that this is how you treat women. But then I still had to put up with all the manipulation and all the torture, etc. But then there came a point where I just couldn't take anymore. It was, I think he pinned me up against the wall in the kitchen. This is after we divorced, pinned me up against the wall in the kitchen and said, I'm going to kill you. And I just said, if you're going to do it, just do it. I've had enough. I'm dead. I don't want to be here anymore. If this is what life looks like, I don't want it. And that was kind of like the moment that I just snapped and thought, I can't take this. I can't take this. But then it took an intervention from my sister, who was in early years care, who had a lot of experience with, sort of kids with parent issues and stuff. And she referred me to an organization called Yellow Door and the Freedom Project. And basically they helped me to see that what I was going through was not normal.
Wow, this must have been, like, I think this story needs to be shared. So I'm wondering how many millions of women are out there who are going through similar experiences, not knowing there is hope, not knowing there is a way out, there is an exit, there is an intervention that could shift everything for them.
Yeah.
And I hope that I can help you to amplify and really give you the mic in other podcasts as well. So it would help to.
Yeah, absolutely. I am not alone in so many ways. And with the people that I speak to on a regular basis, it could be men, it could be women. There is normally an aggressor and a victim. And the victim is there through no fault of their own. It's not their fault that they're a victim. They have been played, basically. They have been manipulated. They have been lied to. They have been sold a false promise. And before they know it, all of their friends have been pushed away. All of their family has been pushed away. Their self-esteem is through the floor. Their self-confidence is through the floor. And they are ruled by fear.
Yeah, it's almost like a prison.
Yeah.
And they've got the key, but they've thrown it away a long time ago, and they don't remember that they've had the key, but they buried the key in a place where for them it's not accessible anymore.
Yeah,
and
absolutely.
I can see how they may not even think about asking for help, because that looks so hopeless and bleak that they're just grinding it each day.
Yeah, absolutely. And they are so alone, and they're basically existing. They're not living, they're just existing. And the only reason that they're existing is for the sake of their children. And that's it. That, you know, the only reason that they have not decided to end everything is because they have children, and they don't want to do that to their children. But apart from that, life is just absolutely awful.
Hopeless. I can see, I can hear what you're saying. So now you are bringing hope and light to similar situations. Is that what
It's
you started?
absolutely. I wanted to become the person that I needed when I was in that state. And, you know, all of the people that I work with, is just such an honor to be able to walk that path with them for a little while. It's just, you know, it's just such an honor to be able to help them in a way that actually transforms their life completely.
And tell us, how are you able to get through? There is this force field around them to do it on their own. Like, that's the pattern. I can already hear it and imagine. Then how are you getting through? Because I think that's the biggest one sometimes, to help people, that they are not able to receive.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think for me, that certainly with the clients that I've worked with, they have to almost hit rock bottom and be ready to have help. Because whilst they're still in this, I'm coping, I'm fine, don't talk to me, I'm fine, just ignore it, I'm fine. Whilst they're in that I'm fine moment, you can't help them, because they don't want to hear it, because they're just on cope mode, you know, just get through the day mode. But once that kind of facade cracks and they understand that they're not fine, that's the bit where I can actually swoop in and start to bring them back up. And it's sad that it has to get to that point before I can help them. And I would love to help people, you know, way before they get to that point. I would love for people not to need me at all. That would be the ultimate goal, is for nobody to ever need me to coach them through this.
What parallel journey we have, obviously, you know, I'm just taking care of self-worth, but very similar, probably not so grave situation that you tend to help people with, but I found that somehow the whole world needs to cave in and collapse on them before finally they are able to receive help and do whatever it takes.
Yeah, absolutely.
So how do you get through? I was just thinking that, are you speaking in front of groups? Is your social media getting the message through? How do you reach this type of audience?
Yeah, it's a lot of it is word of mouth. I do have a free webinar that people can come through. I used to run Facebook ads and have a sort of a big Facebook group that was very helpful to help me get to the right people. However, unfortunately, I got hacked on Facebook and it all got taken away, or lost it all. So I kind of stepped away from Facebook quite a lot, and I do quite a lot of networking nowadays to just really help me to find the people that need me. I kind of relate a little bit to Nanny McPhee. Have you seen Nanny McPhee, the video?
No.
No? Okay. Well, Nanny McPhee basically works on the basis that when you need me, but you don't want me, I will be there. When you want me, but you don't need me, is when I leave. And that's kind of how my, almost like my operation works, is I kind of say to everybody that works with me, you'll get to a certain point and you'll think, right, okay, yeah, I'm good now. And I said, it's like a course of antibiotics. We have to go through the whole process before you're done, before you're ready, because you will think that you're ready before you really truly are. Because the first sort of the first month of working with me is very much about building your self-esteem, finding your self-worth, you know, sort of dealing with those problems. And you're like, oh yeah, it's great. And then it's like, right, yeah, but you haven't got the tools at that point. We fixed the problems, but we haven't got the tools yet. So then I start working on giving them the tools that they need so that they can actually do the work themselves moving forward. And they don't need me anymore. I just remain in the background more as a friend than as a coach.
This is such an inspirational work, what you do. It takes a person and it resets them for life.
It does. Yeah, gives them
Rebuilding
tools.
from the bottom of the hole and
Yeah.
writing a new life. So exciting. And how are you working remotely? Are you working with groups or one-on-ones? What is your process?
One-on-one. So I work with the parent that wants to make the situation better. So you can't help somebody that doesn't want to be helped. So it has to be somebody that wants to actually make a difference and have a different relationship with their co-parenting. So I work one-on-one, and I have run group programs in the past. I don't have a group running at the moment, but it's something that I may well sort of resurrect at some point. But I find that one-on-one, I can have such a big impact, and it's just such an uplifting experience, not just for the client, but for me too. Helping others helps me.
And what is different? I mean, I don't know how much help is out there for these kind of situations from governments. Are you getting funding, or are you getting some kind of support to do this work, or this is a massive gap where
It's a massive black hole. There is some support out there, but nowhere near enough. And, you know, so some people are eligible for and get the support from their governments from whichever country they live in. And it varies from country to country. But generally it's self-funded by the clients themselves.
yes, it's very interesting how I also came across from time to time that the help that's available is most of the time is basically not working, or brings marginal, tiny result, if any, and then also there is a limited time, access, and all of those things. Yet
it's very limited. So it'll only take people so far. If they are able to access the help, if they qualify for that assistance, which, you know, has to be pretty desperate to actually get to that point to get that assistance. Normally there has to be law enforcement involved and social services, you know, sort of child services, those kind of things. So a lot of the people that need this kind of help and support just don't get it.
Wow. So what do you think, if you could celebrate your achievements in the next 5 years, what would you celebrate? What would need to happen for you to feel, wow, I've really been making an impact, I've been successful?
I think for me, at the moment I'm working one-on-one with people, but to be able to help a larger volume of people, so maybe having boot camps or events where I could gather a whole great big group of people and have a bunch of coaches with me that can actually, you know, sort of be table to table, right? Let's fix things here. Let's get people started. Let's get people with the tools so they can actually help themselves. I think for me, having that team of coaches that can do what I do, that have the experience, that's a crucial one, because unless you've got the experience, you have no idea how traumatic it can be. It's having that team of people to be able to help so many people, so many more people, I think would be my ultimate sort of celebration of success.
Yeah, well, that's what I wanted to ask. How and who should be the ideal person who is listening to this podcast, who could refer you people, who could refer you experts, or whoever has contacts to help you amplify your impact and message. And if you're listening to us at this time and you're listening to this podcast, then tell us, Jenni, who do you need to be talking to other than coaches? You've already told us.
Yeah.
Who could have access to the people who have a lot of these cases around?
Yeah, absolutely. I think a lot of legal services, certainly going through divorce, most people have to employ a legal advisor of some sort or another. So people that have to deal with these people, but they are so, I find that people from the legal side, they don't necessarily see the human part of the situation. They're just focusing on the legal part. We need this form, we need that form, we need the other form. This is what the state says that we have to divide things up by. And then you've got the person that's applying for those services that has no clue about what's going on, that is completely driven by emotional responses, not logical responses. They're making massive decisions that will have significant impact on their future based on emotion, which is crazy.
What a paradox, where one probably needs, more than anything, a human connection.
Yeah.
Where they are almost lost, yet what they get is a pen and a paper and maybe signing off official procedures, which I understand is a necessary piece, but that human connection is one of the most meaningful things at the direst moments. of
Absolutely. And also the medical professionals that are dealing with these people, and they only have a certain number of minutes that they can actually spend with each person. And it's kind of like, okay, your life has just completely imploded. Take some antidepressants, take some anxiety meds. And that doesn't solve the root cause of the problem. That's just helping with the symptoms. But again, these are people that their focus is on sort of broken bones and open wounds. Their focus is not on the deeper psychological impact of what's actually going on with that particular person. I was so lucky that I had a doctor that was really, really empathetic to me. It took a long time to find the right doctor, but when I did, when she told me recently that she was leaving to join another practice, I actually cried. So I really didn't want to lose her.
but I just also realized, feeling into your situation and story, that these people will repeat it unless there is a psychological breakthrough, because the map is wrong. The
Yes.
map is showing lack of confidence. The map is showing I'm worthless. So
they will go
there's
from
no help.
abusive relationship to abusive relationship to abusive relationship. And
Indeed.
those kids will go through it time and time again, and they will grow up thinking that's normal. That's the way to behave.
And obviously they will adopt the similar or same map to life, experiencing same level of trauma, whatever it was, an abuse they're going through. And then hopefully at one stage, and this has happened in my family too, although there was not that much abuse, just light cases compared to yours, there comes a person who says, I had enough.
Yeah.
I will shift and change this forever.
Yeah.
And then everything shifts when they are able to take charge and ask for help. So is there anything that you want to share to people who are going through these sort of troubles now?
Yeah.
A sort of golden tips for how to go about changing and shifting their situation?
I think the biggest tip that I can give anybody is to stop, to breathe, to not immediately react to a situation based on emotion, but to try and just take that breath and try and apply some logic before they react, before they respond. But that is incredibly hard to do when you are being bombarded. It really is incredibly hard to do when you're being bombarded. But I also think that one of the biggest tips is you're not alone. Speak to friends, speak to family. You are not alone, and you're trying to cope in this horrible, awful situation, and you feel like no one is there for you. And the reason that you feel like no one is there for you is because everybody has been pushed away, but they're still there. They're just waiting until they know it's okay to come back to you. So talk to them. There's no shame. There's no shame in admitting what has happened. There is no shame in acknowledging that you've basically been manipulated, you've been abused, you've been mistreated. You have done nothing wrong. Go and talk to friends, talk to family. If you haven't got friends or family, talk to your doctor, talk to your primary care provider, talk to the child's teachers. There are so many people out there that have access to services that can help if you let them in.
So it's really asking for help again. We're back.
Yeah.
We're
back to
again.
asking for help.
You've got to ask for it, folks. Listen. same as every other area of life that is maybe collapsing, don't do it alone.
Absolutely.
No nurse
Nothing,
man.
nothing is ever handed out on a plate. You have to go and do the work and get it. So you have to ask for it. You have to admit that there is a problem. You can't just hide it under a barrel and hope it's going to get better, because it won't.
And most importantly, adopt the belief that there is someone out there to help you. Maybe lots of help available, which you never thought about. So
Yeah.
where to find you, Jenni? How to engage with you? Do you have a website? Do you have social media? We'll put everything under the video, but do you want to share?
Yeah, sure. You can find my website, which is really easy to find, which is www.coparentingwithoutconflict, all one word.com. So co-parenting without conflict, that's what I do. And that's the website. And obviously I'll give you all my connection details, Andre, that you can put out in the comments to this. But look me up, Jenni Rock Coaching, Co-Parenting Without Conflict. You know, I'm on Facebook, I'm on YouTube. Yeah, I have YouTube videos that are there waiting for people to watch them, that will help them. And everything comes from me, not just from training, but from experience as well. So I really did get those nuances that you feel like nobody else will understand.
Very powerful. And what a story you have, and how amazing that you've been able to turn that history into service and helping others. Tell me, Jenni, what have I not asked that you really wanted to share? And let me give you space, if anything.
Oh, you put me on the spot there. What did you not ask? I think the time element is a big thing. I think sometimes people feel like, oh, it was too long ago, it doesn't impact me anymore. Of course it does. If something big like that happens to you in your life, it's going to impact on you forever. And it will impact on every single decision that you make. When you are faced with, you know, sort of basically living a survival life, where you're just doing what you need to do to survive and, you know, to keep your children, things change in your brain. And those things don't just change back automatically. They have to be worked on, and it takes time. So for me, it was a long time after the divorce before I actually saw the light. A long time. I would say a good 10 years. So at the time when I separated from my child's father, my child was 3. And it was only when he became a teenager that I was actually getting some help. So there is no time, there is no expiry date on the time, because these things impact on people for decades.
Unless
they're dealt with.
I believe, professional help and maybe concentrated work there is on that human element, that from survival mode into at least feeling safe.
Yeah.
And I guess thriving again, which we all able to do, I believe, no matter where you have been and how much abuse you got, but it takes what we're going to call it therapy, change work to change the meaning, because you may end up stuck with those fears and sadness, however you have experienced, and maybe hurt or even guilt.
Absolutely. And therapy is great, and therapy helps you work through the demons in the past, but therapy doesn't give you the framework and the tools to move forward.
Yeah.
And that's the bit where I come in. I'm not a therapist. I'm not a psychologist. I don't put people through that trauma again and again and again. what I do is I help them to be able to understand it and to be able to overcome it moving forward so that they can actually start to live again.
Jenni Rock, well, thank you very much for your time. It was very deep, and I hope I will share this video and interview with many people around, and
You're welcome.
the world will hear you, because there is a few people out there who are saving the world and healing the world, and moms and dads need to heal, because trauma will never stop.
No. Just keeps repeating until it's dealt with.
Thank you very much for your time, and I'll see you next time.
Wonderful. Nice to see you.